Fred Rogers spent 33 years helping children feel safe through his television show, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. But after his death in 2003, his wife Joanne revealed something few ever knew. Every year on his birthday, Fred wrote a letter to God. He questioned whether his work truly mattered and whether he was doing enough to help others. He wrote more than 30 of these letters, keeping them locked away and asking Joanne to keep them private while he was alive. Those letters and an unpublished 1986 manuscript showed a more vulnerable side of a man the world saw as endlessly gentle. Fred McFeely Rogers was born on March 20, 1928, in Latrobe, Pennsylvania. His father, James, was a wealthy businessman who built the family a mansion with heated floors and a private elevator. Despite the comfort, Fred was lonely. His father worked long hours at a steel plant, and though servants filled the house, he longed for companionship. At age 2, Fred nearly died from measles and scarlet fever, spending 47 days bedridden with a fever that caused hallucinations. His mother, Nancy, never left his side. She taught him to play melodies on the black piano keys because his fingers were too weak for the others. Each black note became an emotion, and that piano became his first real friend. By age 3, Fred struggled with coordination. Doctors diagnosed him with developmental dyspraxia and warned he might never improve. Instead of sending him away, his parents hired a physical therapist who used puppets to help him strengthen his hands. Within months, his condition improved dramatically. That playful therapy shaped his lifelong belief that creativity could heal. When a train derailed near their home, killing 47 people, Fred saw the wreckage from his window. His father tried to shield him from the truth, but he read about it in the newspaper and began to wonder why people suffered when they were just trying to go somewhere. That question became the heart of everything he later created. As a boy, Fred spent hours alone in the attic performing puppet shows for stuffed animals. His mother, touched by his imagination, had a puppet theater built for him. He named his favorite puppet David the Dreamer and told stories about fear, kindness, and belonging, ideas that would one day shape his television scripts. His grandmother deepened his curiosity about faith, teaching him that asking difficult questions was part of believing. That lesson guided how he spoke to children later on, always honest and gentle, never pretending to have all the answers. In high school, Fred was bullied for being shy and having a high-pitched voice. He was shoved into lockers and mocked for playing piano at assemblies. The teasing drove him inward, but he found solace in music, composing complex pieces on his own. His relationship with his father remained tense. James wanted his son to take over the steel business. Fred wanted to create. After a heated argument, James forced him to work at the mill for a month, blistering his hands. Fred never forgot the feeling of being misunderstood, a pain he later transformed into empathy for children. When he was 17, Fred's brother Jim was born. Overwhelmed with jealousy, Fred refused to speak for weeks and admitted years later that he wanted the baby to disappear. That guilt became a driving force behind his mission to make every child feel loved and valued. During World War II, he volunteered to watch for enemy aircraft, an experience that left him terrified of violence. From that point forward, he vowed never to include violence in his work. Fred studied music at Rollins College, graduating magna cum laude in 1951. Though talented, he struggled with self-doubt and a stutter that classmates mocked. To overcome it, he practiced speaking underwater, teaching himself the calm, rhythmic tone that became his trademark. After college, he joined NBC in New York, working on children's shows filled with slapstick and shouting. He was disheartened by what passed for children's entertainment and quit after 6 weeks, determined to create something meaningful. In 1954, he began the Children's Corner in Pittsburgh with co-host Josie Carey. The budget was only $150 a week, so Fred built the props himself, including a tiny red trolley that cost just $18. He performed all the puppet voices, ran between the organ and the stage, and wore sneakers to move quietly during filming. Once exhausted, he collapsed on the studio floor. Despite his dedication, financial struggles caused tension at home. During one argument, he smashed one of his puppets in anger, a moment that haunted him. Years later, he used that guilt to teach children about expressing emotions safely. Fred's big break came when Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood premiered in 1968. Critics initially dismissed it as dull, But he refused to change. He wanted children to slow down, think, and feel. Behind the scenes, he built props by hand and stored thousands of handmade gifts from viewers in a secret room inside the castle set. He wrote personal thank you letters to every child who sent him something. In 1969, when PBS funding was at risk, Rogers appeared before the U.S. Senate. Instead of statistics, he recited lyrics from one of his songs about anger. The sincerity in his voice moved Senator John Pastor to say, "You've just earned the $20 million. That testimony saved public television." Privately, Fred was disciplined and athletic. He swam 3 miles every morning and did 100 push-ups a day but never spoke about it publicly, not wanting to distract from his message of kindness. He kept his weight at exactly 143 pounds, symbolizing, "I love you," and maintained it for 3 decades. Throughout his life, Fred transformed personal pain into lessons for others. After a close friend died by suicide in 1972, he questioned his faith and wrote an episode about grief that aired despite objections. During the Vietnam War, he produced a 5-part series called Conflict, using puppets to help children understand fear and division. He faced backlash but stood by his belief that honesty helped children heal. In 1981, he created a special called What Do You Do with the Mad That You Feel? Inspired by his own childhood anger. He allowed children to express rage safely, by pounding clay or screaming into pillows, while calmly reassuring them that feelings weren't wrong. Some parents objected, but Rogers insisted that repressing emotions was more dangerous than expressing them. Behind his calm demeanor were deep insecurities. As a teen, Fred suffered from severe acne, leaving scars that made him self-conscious. In an unpublished 1986 manuscript, he confessed that he wore makeup to cover the marks and feared his appearance would distract people from his message. Publishers found it too raw, and it remained unseen. But that vulnerability was part of what made him so real to his audience. When he was diagnosed with stomach cancer in 1998, Rogers continued working, filming 65 more episodes while undergoing chemotherapy.